Nano Machine by Hanjung Leolia.
Chapter 52, Cool-Headed but Warm Hearts Part 1. The Poison of Destruction Art. When one reached the 4th level, it allowed them to store poison within the body and use it when needed. The internal energy helped control the poison that was within the body, but if the energy was shattered, the poison spread out uncontrolled. NNRGGH. Chun Yowon was shocked when Chun Jongsam's face turned purple and his mouth was full of bubbles. He wasn't going to kill him because of the academy rule, but it looked like Jongsam was dying. God, his internal energy is gone, Baek Jongmang gasped. He realized why Jongsam had been poisoned. I knew something was going to happen, but this... He didn't think Yowon would destroy Jongsam's energy. He was not a martial artist, but he knew how important internal energy was for a martial artist. Looking at all those bones that had been destroyed, it made him frown. You should have stopped after breaking his bones. Why did you go so far? Jongmang had many questions he wanted to ask, but he had to treat his patients first. Jongmang quickly placed needles over Jongsam's blood points. He didn't know what poison was in effect, so he had to get the poison out of the body first. The blood points began to spill black blood with the foul stench of poison coming from it. Ugh! It was a powerful poison that should have killed a normal person already. Fortunately, Jongsam was not dead yet. Is he immune to poison? But even then, this level of poison was going to kill Chun Jongsam anyway. Oh.
I have that.
Jongmang then quickly went through his desk drawers and found a red silk pouch that had small medicinal pills inside. I'm so lucky that I have these. It was what his teacher Baek Jongwoo told him to take. Jongmang put on a glove so he would not come into contact with the poison and opened Jongsam's mouth and placed 3 pills inside. You might feel like dying, but swallow it if you want to live. Go on. Chun Jongsam was dying, but he barely swallowed it. As Jongmang was doing his best to save Jongsam, Yowon looked on with a serious expression. I didn't expect this. He didn't know anything about poisons, so there was no way Yowon would have known this. If Jongsam died, Yowon was going to be expelled. Damn it. I can't let him die. He had gone too far, but there was nothing he could do now. I have to let him live. The best way was to make Nano analyze the poison and detoxify it, but Nano said it was not possible to move into another person's body. Why can't you? It is against the system protocol. There is a lock on it that restricts you from doing it. Why is there a lock? There is an embedded genetic code that protects the Nano machine from being taken by other entities. Yowon didn't know, but there were a lot of restrictions in the Nano machine program. It was done to protect the current time frame from having highly advanced technology so that it wouldn't be revealed to the public. Then what should I do? Oh. Chun Yowon then found the blood that was on his clothes from carrying Jongsam. Nano, can you just analyze the poison then? Understood. Please place your hand over the substance. Yowon placed his finger over the poison as Nano instructed him to do. Analyzing. Chun Yowon then walked over to the cabinet that held herbs while Nano was analyzing. Jongmang was busy tending to Jongsam, so he didn't know what Yowon was doing. Analyzing complete. Total of 7 poisons have been mixed, thus making a new poisonous effect. Analyze the way to the mix herbs I see right now to detoxify it. Hurry! Understood. Nano then began searching through the medicinal herbs that Yowon was looking at. Soon, Yowon was what herbs he had to use and how much through augmented reality. Yowon quickly grabbed what he needed and began creating medicine soup. As smoke began to rise up from the boiler, Jongmang turned toward him. What are you doing? He was drenched in sweat, barely relieved. It seemed like Jongsam was barely controlling the poison with the medicine pills. I'm just creating medicine soup. Chun Yowon hesitated for a second, but he ended up telling the truth. Baek Jongmang, who was having a hard time due to what Yowon had done, got up and tried to scold him. What are you talking about? How can you even try, huh? He was shocked to see the medicine on the table. All of the herbs that Yowon had taken out were those that were used to nullify poisons, and some required to be mixed with others. What? He wouldn't know this if he didn't study medicinal herbs. Jongmang then tasted the soup a little with his finger. Medicinal herb mixture could be toxic if done incorrectly, but this didn't seem to have any problems. He studied medicines. He didn't. Yowan was only following Nano's instructions. However, Baek Jongmeng did not know this and was astonished. Even then, making a medicine soup without knowing what it was for was still dangerous. It's not bad, but we need to know what poison it is too. It's sulfuric poison, so it includes poison fish, poisonous mushrooms, plague insects, blue oak, and red extracts. Oh. Yowan quickly listed off the poisons inside Jongsum, and Jongmeng was shocked. It was unbelievable when Yowan didn't even extract the poison to study it. Dr. Baek, can you trust me on this one? Yowan had no time to waste, so he begged Jongmeng. The doctor then turned to Jongsum, who was still purple, and told him to wait. Jongmeng then gathered a small drop of blood from Jongsum and placed it into a small bowl. He then began checking to see if the blood really contained the 7 poisons that Yowan had spoken of. It really is. What Yowan said was correct. Yowan probably knew what he was doing with the medicine soup, so Jongmeng then decided to use the soup that Yowan had created. He brought the soup over and had Jongsum take it spoon by spoon. All that was left to do now was to wait.
We've done everything we can now.
I have to keep him on the needles so that the poison will not spread. I'm sorry, Dr. Baek. Yowan deeply regretted doing something out of control. Jongmeng shook his head. But why did you have to destroy his internal energy? Even if the basics of the academy supports the survival of the fittest, this seems like too much. Can you take the backlash? Jongmeng was really worried. Yowan was still in the academy, but he would graduate in 4 years, and after placing the candidate of the Poison Clan in such a state, it was likely that the Poison Clan would retaliate. Yowan spoke with a bow. Thank you for your concern. I will take anything that comes to me for what I have done. There was no going back even if he regretted it. And he had decided to fight 6 clans from the very beginning, so it didn't matter anyway. You are still young. Jongmeng then felt Chun Yowan's young recklessness and gave him some sincere advice. I hope you think deeply about every instance from now on. From what I have learned in the cult, it is more common for smartest ones to survive than the strongest one. Be flexible with your thinking. Baek Jongmeng hoped that Yowan would not be arrogant about his own power and become smart instead. Thinking that brute strength would topple everything in the cult was the wrong idea. Chun Yowan thought deeply about the advice. Maybe I was too reckless this time. His fast growth in power made him arrogant. He couldn't understand it now, but he did feel like he had done something wrong after hearing Jongmeng's advice. Well, it's too late. You should go back now. It was almost time for the dorms to close. Chun Yowan bowed and tried to return when someone spoke up awkwardly. What about me? It was the 18th cadet, Bakgi. Chapter 53, Cool Heads But Warm Hearts, Part 2. As they walked out, Bakgi watched Chun Yowan silently. Yowan didn't say anything, and Bakgi felt apologetic for what had happened. I got him into something that I should have dealt with by myself. Bakgi was shocked when Chun Jongsum came in, almost dying due to the poison. He too knew that Chun Yowan was going to use violence when dealing with Jongsum, but he didn't expect Yowan to destroy Jongsum's internal energy either. He first wondered why Yowan had gone so far as to destroy Jongsum's internal energy. That meant that Chun Jongsum's life as a warrior was over, and not to mention, all of his bones had been crushed. Does he not think about the backlash? Or is he that vengeful against him? Bakgi then thought about what would he have done if he faced someone who might have killed his own parents. It was questionable to say the least. Bakgi then spoke to Yowan. 7th Cadet. Yowan stopped and looked back curiously. Let me ask you something. Yeah. Why did you destroy his internal energy? After going so far, Chun Yowan now was going to get all the fury from the Poison Clan. Yowan answered calmly. I was just let my anger out of control. Yowan continued, I was afraid that if I let him be, he would use poison on the other cadets also. That made Bakgi astonished. Yowan was more worried about the other cadets being poisoned than him being blamed by the Poison Clan. This guy? He wasn't just a reckless fool. His decision-making wasn't perfect, but he was still more of a leader than the other princes that Bakgi had met. He's different. Chun Yo-won wasn't actually worried about other cadets. He just didn't want to see the poison that killed his mother spreading across the academy. However, Baekgi had interpreted it as Yo-won's noble sacrifice and began to think that Yo-won was fitting as a leader. What if? Baekgi then tried to say something to Yo-won when 7 cadets came running for him. They were Yo-won's team members. "Master, where were you?" Hubang asked with sweat over his face. The 7 cadets looked like they were really worried and sighed in relief. Ko Wonger also spoke with relief. "We were worried that you got ambushed. I was waiting for you to come out of the private training ground." Oh. Yo-won then remembered talking with Wonger to go back to the dorm together after dinner time. But when Yo-won did not come out after an hour, Wonger began searching the academy with the other members. Yo-won apologized to them. "I'm sorry." "No, it is good that you are okay." Baekgi then looked at them and smiled bitterly. He already has his own people. Baekgi realized that he always distanced himself from the other cadets, so even when he was a leader for the 12th group, no one followed him. Yo-won then asked Baekgi, "What were you trying to say?" "No, it's nothing." Baekgi shook his head and returned to his room. When Yo-won's team heard about what happened between him and Chun Jangsum, they became concerned. Ko Wonger of the Demon Fist clan was also worried about Yo-won destroying Jangsum's internal energy. Wonger then gave them a solution to deal with this. "We have to grow in power for now. They cannot do anything to us while we are still attending the academy, but we are against one of the 6 clans of the cult. We must focus on growing in power while we can." Ko Wonger was big and muscular, but he was also very intuitive and logical. Yo-won agreed with him. He had to be prepared for the Poison Clan to retaliate in any way. And unlike Wonger, Hubang was worried about another issue. "Master, I'm more worried about how the chief will handle this issue. The rules of the academy didn't state that one couldn't destroy another's internal power, but internal power was like a lifeline to a warrior, so they weren't sure about what the academy would do about this issue. Let's hope nothing happens." Hubang's concern became a reality. Early in the morning the next day, 3 instructors came to Yo-won and his members in the forest nearby where they were going to train. One of those instructors was Imping. "You've done a foolish thing." "I'm sorry. The chief has ordered us to take you to his room." "Oh no." The 7 members all became worried. They just hoped that Yo-won would not get expelled. If that happened, then Yo-won would be targeted by the Poison Clan right away. When instructors brought Yo-won up to the office of the chief, they let Yo-won go in alone. "Chief, the 7th cadet is here." "Let him in." When Yo-won walked in, Lee Hamming had tied his long red hair to the back and was working on a document. Yo-won then bowed politely. "7th cadet, reporting to the chief of the Demonic Academy." Lee Hamming did not respond and focused on his document. The air went cold as silence fell. Soon, Lee Hamming finished writing on the document and got up to stretch his muscles. "I had to write an incident report thanks to you, so don't be angry about me not responding to your bow." That was what Lee Hamming had been working on. He had to report Baek Jongmeng and the other instructors on what had happened. Hamming pointed at the chair near the meeting table and allowed Yo-won to have a seat. Lee Hamming sat across Yo-won and looked at him with his fingers crossed. It was hard to tell what he was thinking. After a long time, Hamming said, "You are still young." "What?" "Let's deal with the work first. Let me speak first as the chief of the academy." "As the chief?" Yo-won became curious and Hamming continued, "You've done some serious damage by destroying another cadet's internal energy." The problem here was that fighting and dueling behind the scenes were unofficially recommended by the academy, so the actual fighting was not a problem. You basically killed a martial artist. It was likely that there was going to be punishment for this. Yo-won's eyes shook. This meant that he might even get expelled. Through our long history in the academy, you are the first to do such a foolish thing. If we let you walk freely after doing such a thing, there will be others who will replicate such a foolish act. No. Yo-won put his head down. Hamming concluded, "So, as the chief of the academy, I hereby order you to turn over your yellow tag and stay for 5 days in the prison cell." Yo-won's eyes widened with shock. "Am I not getting expelled?" "Expel? What nonsense are you talking about? The only expulsion in the academy is from failing a test or killing another cadet outside an official duel. Oh. Yoan then sighed in relief. At least the worst-case scenario did not happen. Hamming shook his head. Humph. It's too early to feel relieved. It was as Hamming said. If he had to return the yellow tag, it meant he would lose the right to become a leader. After 5 days in prison, it would give him only 1 day to get the tag back when he came out. But would there be any instructors left with a yellow tag on the last day? That's a problem too. Lee Hamming had given such punishment to show all cadets what will happen when one went too far with violence. I was going to make you stay for 7 days, but that will give you no chance. This was a small gift from Lee Hamming. He couldn't bear to lose talented individual like Chun Yo-won, although he was really disappointed over this issue. Well, so with that done, let's talk about your foolishness as a senior graduate of the academy. Hamming then unleashed his powerful energy throughout the office. It was so terrifying that it even made Chun Yo-won flinch. The reason why Hamming covered his office was to mask the sound that could seep out of the office. I am very disappointed with you. Unlike how he was formally punishing Yo-won, he now seemed very angry. I had big hopes for you, and you've done something only a thug would do, Lee Hamming spat angrily. Yo-won then thought Hamming was disappointed in Yo-won for destroying the internal energy of a fellow cadet and apologized. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? Can't you do your work better? You have no head to take care of your shit? What? Did you bring him to the medical room after you destroyed his internal energy because you sympathized with him?
That's...
Of course not. You were afraid you might get expelled. Then you should have not have done that from the beginning. But Chun Jong-sum. He used the poison that killed your mother, so he deserves to be killed?
Is that it?
Yo-won was confused and the words got stuck in his throat. Lee Hamming had found out every little detail of what had happened. Baek Jongmeng had spilled all the details about Chun Yo-won in hopes of defending Yo-won's position. Lee Hamming scoffed and spoke with a cold voice. You bring him to the medical room when you think he's the one behind your mother's death? Because you were afraid that you might be expelled? What a fool! If you were going to do it, then you should have done it right. Wait, is he? Lee Hamming wasn't talking about destroying internal energy. He was implying that Chun Yo-won should have just killed Jong-sum. You shouldn't have let an enemy live. That will only create more enemies. Chapter 54, Cool Heads But Warm Hearts, Part 3. Lee Hamming got the report of what happened the other night when he came to work early in the morning. He quickly came to understand that Chun Yo-won had lost his control over his rage, and thus he was unable to comprehend the problem at stake. He must have been busy learning martial arts for 2 weeks. Hamming hated Right Guardian Submeng, but he too knew that there was no time for Submeng to teach Yo-won things other than martial arts. It seemed that Chun Yo-won was missing out on real-life lessons. I can't just let him rot with his talent. Chun Yo-won had high potential, given the right lessons and guidance. Lee Hamming valued his connection with the 6 clans, but he was also intrigued by Chun Yo-won. Do you know what follows for the one who fails to clean up after his mess? It is death. The ruckus you caused is exactly what you are bringing upon yourself. Unlike Dr. Baek Jongmeng, Lee Hamming was a realist who usually criticized and judged on the actual problem. You. Why did you enter the academy? Lee Hamming asked. Yo-won bit on his lips and answered, it is to become stronger than anyone else. Than anyone else, you say? Yo-won noticed the hint of anger in the voice after he said why he wanted to become strong. He wanted revenge. Is anger what pulls you and make you stronger? Everyone had a goal, and a goal was what made people work harder. All cadets in the academy had their own goals. Anger can be your reason to live, but you are also a candidate to the throne. Chun Yo-won shuddered. As a possible future lord, will you be satisfied after getting your revenge? Anger is only part of the path you take. It should stay as your motivation. The lord was the demonic cult itself. If Yo-won was just another cadet, the goal would not have been that bad, but he was also a candidate to the future lord's throne. You have to look at the forest. Your anger burns the entire forest, not just the tree. And it will burn yourself with it in the end. Lee Hamming was now advising Yo-won. Do you know what I mean? I think so, sir. If you unleash your anger like a thug, it will hurt the people around you, and it will hurt you too in the end. Hamming spoke coldly. 7th Cadet. No, chun gyobun. If you want to survive and become the future of the cult, you should have a cool head but a warm heart. Or else, you will die before you even avenge your mother. Cool head, warm heart. Yoan etched the advice deeply in his heart. He had never heard of any kind of advice in his 15 years of life. All he thought about was revenge and to put an end to the 6 clans that killed his mother. But he had never thought about what would happen afterward. Those thoughts cooled Yoan's anger. He is right. If he only focused on revenge, that was going to be it. If he wanted to achieve his revenge and survive, he needed to look higher and farther. He had to accept his mistakes and amend it. Well, he doesn't seem like entirely idiot at least. Lee Hamming smiled. He thought if Yoan didn't understand what he was saying, Hamming was going to forget about Yoan. But if Yoan understood and could fix his mistakes, it was likely that Yoan would grow to become a real monster in the cult like no one else. And I will be the trusted teacher who gave him a valuable lesson if it comes to that.
Heh?
Lee Hamming then retrieved his energy, hinting that their conversation was over. Chun Yoan got up and took the yellow tag to hand it over to Hamming. Thank you for your advice, Chief. I really am thankful. Yoan bowed to Hamming, who had given him a life lesson. Hamming was satisfied by that, but he didn't show that he was. Instructors, comein.
Huh?
After Hamming gave the order, the instructors immediately walked into the office. Take him to the prison cells. Yes, sir. Chun Yoan was shocked. He wanted to tell his teammates about what happened and was going to give them orders on what to do while he was gone, but he didn't think he would get taken in right away. Chief, can you give me a little more time before going to the prison cell? Lee Hamming shook his head and snapped coldly, no. At least so I can talk to my teammates. Your imprisonment will be announced officially. And it is your former teammates. They are now just cadets.
Ah.
Chun Yoan then moaned. He then realized what Lee Hamming did to teach him. He wants me to know the consequences of my actions reaching other people. Chun Yoan was able to feel it very truthfully. His imprisonment was announced after lunchtime to every cadet. The 7th cadet has destroyed the 4th cade's internal energy, thus destroying the 4th cadet's chances of being a warrior for life. As punishment, his right to become a team leader has been taken away and he will be imprisoned for 5 days. All cadets should learn from this and never attempt such foolish acts within the academy. This shocked all cadets. Even when the academy had a basic rule of the survival of the fittest, destroying one's internal energy when they were all in the same cult was beyond reasonable. Whoa. He's terrible. He's just not strong then. He's mad. 4th cadet. Is it Chun Jongsum from the Poison Clan? How he dare attack the Poison Clan? He will be killed right after he leaves the academy. Or he might get killed in the academy beforehand. Yeah, but who knows? He might have someone on his back. Yeah. No fool will dare to attack the Poison Clan without a way to protect himself. The cadets all had different thoughts about this issue. Despite all this, at least Chun Yoan was no longer an unworthy son of the Lord who was going to die soon. Chapter 55, Cool Heads But Warm Hearts, Part 4. Ha 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 ha. He really is crazy. How did he even think about destroying the internal energy? Chun Yuchan burst into laughter as he read the announcement on the wall. Chun Yoan's action was unpredictable. It was amusing, but it didn't feel like he had made the right choice. I thought the competition was going to come from 3 sides, but that won't be the case. He thought Yoan would be dangerous after seeing him fight an instructor, but this made him feel relieved. This way, Yoan would surely fail the 3rd test without even being tested. Chun Yuchan touched his 3 yellow tags and smiled. Well well. Isn't it a wonderful thing? Chun Kungwan of the Sword Clan also liked what he saw on the announcement. Chun Muyan of the Wise Clan, however, didn't pay much attention. He just glanced at the announcement and walked away. However, there were those who were beyond shocked. It was Chun Yoan's team members. Luckily, Yoan had not been expelled, but they were now teamless. There will be 1 day left when the master comes back. Will there be any yellow tags available until then? Ko Wonger was worried. He believed Yowon was strong, but at this rate, it was likely that Yowon would need to steal a yellow tag from one of the other teams. It won't be easy. Someone soon came up to them. It was Baki, the leader of the 12th group from the second test. He spoke to Yowon's 7 members, making them confused. During dinner time, the mansion located west of the cult's castle, the home to the Poison clan, was full of anger. 4 hours ago, they had received a letter and someone was carried in. It was Chun Jongsum. All of his bones had been shattered and his internal energy had been completely destroyed, shocking all the Poison clan members. After reading what had happened from the chief's letter, they became furious. Leaders of the Poison clan gathered at House Leader Baek Oh's office. It had been a long time since they all gathered like this, ever since the day of Baek Oh's resignation from being an elder. All of the leaders had been looking at Baek Oh silently for 2 hours already. Baek Oh had the letter in his hands with his eyes closed from fear and a certain hesitation. A middle-aged man interrupted the silence. "We must do something. Leader, we can't just wait until he comes out of the academy." With that as a signal, others began to shout also. "Let's send assassins. If we hire an assassin from the Kill clan, we can do it quietly. No, how about we just bribe one of those instructors to do the job? We can just use cooks or servants at the academy to poison him to death." They all had different opinions, but they had the same goal of killing Chun Yowon. They didn't care where Chun Yowon was. They wanted to kill the person behind the near death of their prince. Baek Oh, who had been listening quietly, then opened his eyes and spoke coldly. "And if he dies, who will be the most suspicious?" The leaders were then lost for words. They were blamed for Lady Wa's death a few years ago and they lost most of their power over the cult. If they were to cause more problems, that might even be their end. But we can't just let him walk away after almost killing our prince. Baek Munwang, the second son of Baek Oh, shouted angrily. Chun Jongsum was his nephew. He was angry that his nephew had lost a chance to become a warrior, but he didn't like being laughed at by the other clans because they couldn't do anything. Fool. If that was that important, the Lust clan would have done something already. Baek Oh was talking about Chun Wonria, who failed the second test. She didn't have her internal energy destroyed, but she had lost her right arm. The Lust clan was also furious after knowing that it was Chun Yowon who did it. Yet, they were holding back from doing anything. After what happened a few years back, the Lord is distancing himself from the 6 clans and is looking for every opportunity to take our powers away. We can't act foolishly. Doing something to a cadet of the academy was against the way of the demonic cult itself. If they were to kill Chun Yowon, they were giving the Lord every reason to persecute them. Then are you saying we have to wait until he comes out of the academy? Munwang shouted, biting on his lips. Baek Oh answered, "That is how it should be." But Baek Oh looked down at the letter. He then stared for a long time at the letter and grabbed his staff. "I will need to meet the left guardian myself." Late at night a day later, there was a big mountain peak far from the academy's library. There were many caves on the upper portion of the peak where the prison cells were located. The academy did not have its own prison since it was made to train people. But this prison cave had a way to block the entrance from outside. Inside the cave, there was only one small candle that brightened the area. Yowon bit on the hard grain. "Ugh, this is terrible." Chun Yowon was given 5 days' worth of grains and was locked here to train alone. The entrance was sealed tight and the cave was dark and stuffy, which made it harder to train. Nonetheless, Chun Yowon didn't feel too bad while spending his time here as he was training with augmented reality. It's fortunate that the guards don't watch what I'm doing. The guards stayed on the outside of the gate, so he didn't worry about being noticed. Yowon then concentrated on training late into the night and now he was eating his grain. Huh? Yowon then heard the vibration of a rock being pushed away. There were still 3 days left for him to be freed, but the door was pushed open and fresh air swept in. Humph! Then, someone came in slowly wearing black attire. It was an old man with a weird-looking staff. "So, you are Chun Yowon?" His voice had hatred in it. Yowon then focused his internal energy and the old man reached toward him. Then, powerful energy stormed within the cave, throwing Yowon up into the air,